All right, this is the interview trials. How you going, Patrick? Welcome to Insert Generic Indie Company here.
Oh, happy to be here.
I hope you've read our 7-page application post on LinkedIn. Just putting that out there.
I browsed it. I browsed it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, who are we? We are a forward thinking studio specializing in the visualization of future cities and innovative projects using advanced 3D technology and interactive experiences. Our award winning high end digital solutions are trusted by global clients, transforming visionary concepts into reality and driving engagement. How does that sound?
Sounds like a great opportunity.
So, I'll skip the other 6 paragraphs for you, okay? So, I am looking for a highly skilled 3D artist, and I'm looking for I'm going to call it a specialist generalist. Pretty much someone who knows the whole pipeline and is an expert at everything. And work will be done on site, so no working from home. Okay? So, Patrick, what are your salary expectations?
At the moment, I'm not ready to talk about salary. However, I'm sure when we get to that point in our interview, we can negotiate something that we are both happy with.
Okay, can you give me a little ballpark just to start the sizzle on the fry pan?
Well, I just don't know enough about the position. However, do you have a budget set aside for it?
We do have a budget, actually.
Well, would you let me know what the band is?
Yes, before I, the budget is depending on your experience. So I need to know more about your experience before I can give you the budget, if that's okay.
Certainly. I have 20 years in the video game industry, the last 10 or so as a senior and lead with character art specialization. I have built art teams, pipelines, documentation, and managed external vendors for the creation of about 15 titles.
Huh, is that it? Only 20 years? What? No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I'm a spring chicken.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's go into analysis mode now. So yeah, that was good. See, you asked for budget. I know I didn't give it. I don't have to give it. But you put me in the position where I had to give away my budget, which is really solid. And of course, it's the first question. That's always something that happens. It's always the first question, isn't it? What is your salary expectations? It's
It
always the
does
first
come up.
question.
I well, do you find that in your experience interviewing that's one of the first questions? Because
Yeah.
I find that in my experience, it tends to be at the end of the initial screening. Like they'll go through a number of things, and then they'll generally end with salary expectations.
Okay, yeah, I've certainly seen where, especially when it comes to online Google Forms, that sometimes it is at the end, but I'm seeing it at the start quite often. I think they use that as their first line of defense. They want to cut at anyone they can't afford or don't want to pay that high. I've had interviews where it's been the first question. So
Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind when you are speaking with companies is that initially the HR screening, the HR person, that interview that you're having is to disqualify you. So when you get the first interview, when it's just the screen, know that that is the most professional that you must be, and you must play the game tightest in that first one. So you don't make it as conversational as when you move on to speaking with the team. So when you deal with the HR person, it's always professional. Just the facts. Try to pull from the job listing. Use words and phrases that you see in the listing when you answer their questions. So if they ask you something like, tell us a little about yourself, don't go back in time to, oh, when I was a kid, I loved this video game and that video game, and I got into this and then I did that. That is for the hiring manager, the artists, the team that you talk to. When it comes to HR, you keep it just business. Oh, I I started at this company. I worked here. I worked here. I worked on these projects. This is my skill set. This is my experience. Yada, very cut and dry. They're looking to, the HR person, as not saying that they're a villain or something, though, it means HR. They're looking to disqualify candidates because they have a bunch and they're rolling through them. So you really want to be brief and to the point, and you don't want to show your hand. You want to keep all your cards against your chest, and you want them to show you as many of their cards as possible. So when those questions do come up, like how what your salary expectations are, if you feel like it's like right off the jump, you just try to diffuse it. You just say, "Oh, I'm not ready." Like, it's a mindset thing, right? Like, you think you're interviewing for the job, and you are, but you need to change it in your mind that you are interviewing them for the job. Like, oh, you think that you're interviewing me? Like, no, no, no. I'm interviewing you. I want to know, I want to do this on my terms as much as possible. So if you come right out the gate and start talking about my salary expectations, we haven't even talked about the job yet. I don't even know what this is yet. How could I say what my salary expectation is when I don't even know what my responsibilities are going to be? We're going to have to get into it. And if they demand that like, we can't move forward until I know what your expectations are, well, you say, well, if that's the case, then what is the budget that you have set aside? Because they have to tell you. If it's part of the deal. They will give you a range because behind the scenes, they have already budgeted for this role. So they know the numbers, you don't. So you never say the first number because it could be way lower or way higher than they have budgeted. You get them to tell you the range, and then when they do, you say something in there would work fine. You don't say, oh, I'll take, if they say 150 to 200, you say, oh, I'll take 200. That sounds great. You say something in there, that range will work fine. It is not the time to negotiate the salary or to talk about salary in the initial screening. That is to be done at the end. The final round is salary negotiation and all of those things. You do the initial screening, you try to maneuver as professionally as possible so that you get to the next stage where you talk to the artists and the people you'll be working with. And that's when you can be personable. That's when you can talk about how passionate you are about this, that, and the other thing. You can talk about, all of the technical or creative things that you love that they will understand. And you can have some kind of real communication and really get to, present yourself in the best light. Like, oh, this guy likes the same things we do, and he seems personable and is professional and can also have a conversation, yada, yada, yada. So you do that, which is a little more intimate, for a lack of a better word, I suppose. And then when you make that good impression on the art team, and they go back to HR and they say, yeah, this is the person who goes into the final running, or yes, we would like to hire this person. Then HR comes back to you and says, good news, they would like to extend an offer. What are your salary expectations? And you just say, well, I would like to see what you guys offer me. And if they say, well, we need a number, and you say, well, you gave me the band, offer me something in that band. And then they send you the offer letter. And it's generally going to be somewhere in the middle of the range that they gave you. And then you decide, do I ask for more or do I accept? And that's up to you. If you feel like the number that they gave you makes you happy and you accept it, you just say that's great. If you want to see if you can get a little more money, you write it back and you say that's a generous offer. However, I was hoping to get, would it be possible to get, however much more, 5, 10% more, whatever you feel like you want to ask. and maybe they give it to you, maybe they don't. But at that point, you've gotten the job, so you're negotiating.
Perfect response, mate. That's what I have to say
You
to
know.
that one. Oh, we'll move on to the next question. I don't want to, but like, yeah, you're 100% right though. But I want to keep it.
Okay.
We've got a lot of questions to go
Oh
through.
yeah, we want to split it up. Did I go too far? Did
But you know, you're totally
I skip
right.
ahead?
Yeah, no, you're totally right there. All right, this one is one of my favorite questions, right? So, can you give me some examples of failures and how did you overcome them?
Okay. Examples of failures. All right, this is a really good one. You always want to frame this in the best light as possible. You want to present your failures in a good way. So you always say something like, how do you answer this one? So something I generally do when it comes to, I can really only tell personal anecdotes, right, in this type of a situation,
Yeah.
but I will usually frame it in a learning experience. Like, oh, so a personal failure of mine might be when I first, my first leadership position. I realized I was in over my head dealing, interacting with people, or managing my first art team, and it took me, a decent amount of time in that project to identify, shortcomings that I had. And then as soon, when I realized that I was going down the wrong path, I would do personal one-on-ones with my team. So I realized I wasn't, you take the negative and then you say like, oh, I realized that I wasn't giving the artist enough individual feedback or enough individual time, or I wasn't interested in, I didn't make the time enough for them. I realized this. You have to say what it is that you did, say that you realized it, and then talk about how you improved it. So going forward, I scheduled one-on-ones with every one of my teammates every month. So it would be a minimum of, 30 to 40 days between one-on-ones. So every month I was having at least a 15-minute check-in, personal time, just one-on-one, to take the temperature of my team members and have, individual time with them to really feel them out, to see if they felt like things were moving well, if they were appreciated, how they're, did they feel like they were contributing, and did they have any issues with the team? So always frame things in always try to frame a negative in a positive, and then talk about how you improved it and how it helped you become better at what you do. So now, for example, one-on-ones with my team, that's just a given. Or I always, I'm much more focused on the the team health, like team health, and what would you say? Kind of stumbling over this one.
No, but you're right. What I liked is you made it about people, right? It's like
Yeah,
the question's sort of phrased in a way of like people don't want to actually, even though it's got the word you in it, people don't want you to be selfish with it. Like the interviewer doesn't want you to be selfish, but you made it about how you see people, and I think that got me straight away. That was like, okay, yeah, that makes a ton of sense, and I really liked that you made it about people, and I think interviewer people would like that too. I like that it wasn't self-centered, you know.
yeah. I think the kind of the go-to a lot of times in this is like, oh, I work too hard, or
Yeah,
I put in too many hours, or this, that, and the other thing.
I'm
But
too honest.
I think the best, I think the real, yeah, you don't want to be too honest, right? But you do want to keep in mind that you're going to be working with a team, and that other people are going to be affected by your actions. So if you can make it about overall improvement of the relationships that you're going to have with your coworkers, your superiors, and all of those other things, that shows that you are a team player, that you're thinking about how you interact in the greater scheme, and then you want to build up everyone. You want to build a healthy environment, and if you can make it about that, I think it shows that you're aware of working with others, and that you have the wherewithal, or the emotional intelligence, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to interact with other people, especially if you're going for a management position. And by the way, this is all true. Like the first time I was a lead, I was actually, right before we had this chat, I was on the phone call with a friend of mine, and we were having a conversation about leadership. I'll freely admit, the first time that I was a lead, I made a million mistakes, and I feel to be honest with you, I felt like most of the time I was my first leadership position, I was kind of like fixing like my own mistakes most of the time, like non-artistic, like art was not the issue. It was management. It was interacting with people, taking people into like taking individuals into consideration, how I came off to them, how they felt in the situation, how they felt about the whole structure, and also how I was trying to lead by example, but also, not necessarily taking all of their thoughts, opinions, and things into consideration. And that was my own mistake, because I was so focused on like, oh well, we got to do this and we got to do that, and this is the schedule, and we got to make this cool shit, and they're asking for a million things. I'm trying to manage all these things. I forgot that I'm not the only one who's stressed out here. And the more stressed the leader is, that's going to trickle down to the team. So you really do need to be aware of how you present yourself, how you act, and then care about the feelings, essentially, and just overall temperature of your team, because they are going to work worse if they think you are a bad leader. They may never say it, and they may always be pleasant, and they might even be very cooperative. You might not have directly insubordinate people, but they're not going to respect you or enjoy the job, or they'll question you, or they'll not be confident in your decisions if you can't hold it together, and if you can't show that you care about them. And this kind of goes back to, the first question you had about asking for raises. It's so vitally important that you take into consideration all the people who are on your team, especially the ones who report to you. You are, you're there, you're the art dad, like your art dad, like, the artists come to you because they're looking to you for guidance. So you got to take that really seriously. And you also have to care about everybody on your team, and advocate for them, and try to make moves that protect them or help them advance. And, it's hard to learn these things except by screwing up and realizing, oh shit, I really need to take this into consideration. If I want to be a good leader, I need to learn and grow.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like that is one way to always like to learn it, to actually get to screw it up. But I just wish there was more talk of other people explaining how they screw ups. Like it's just not like, it goes back to the whole university thing is failing us. Like why aren't we hearing these stories? That would be like, why do I have to screw up to learn? Why can't I learn from other people screwing up? It's
Yeah.
but it needs to
Well,
be spoon fed.
I
It
mean,
needs to be spoon fed.
maybe you're hard headed like me. Like, even if I heard a lot of that stuff, like I didn't have like, there's a difference between hearing wisdom and understanding wisdom. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I could have been taught all this wisdom, but really, such a hard headed person that I really do need to learn by doing. And
Yeah.
I need to screw up, and I need to burn my hand on the stove to learn that it's hot. Maybe it's, maybe it's a personality flaw. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just how I had to do it. And then when I did start screwing up, I would remember stories and wisdom and guidance and be like, oh, this makes sense now. Oh, I have the experience of doing things, and now, this stuff is starting to make sense. Because a lot of times, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you're young, you think you know everything, right? You think you're like, oh, I'll figure this out. Everything will be fine. I, I was there. I get it. I understand. It's not until you put some miles on yourself that you start to understand some of this stuff, and why people don't talk about it. I don't know. I think ego. I think a lot of people have a hard time admitting when they've screwed up, when they're wrong, when they've dropped the ball, when they've fucked up or really screwed up. But I mean, who gives a shit? I mean,
Yeah.
it's in the past now. Like, it doesn't matter at all. Like, if nothing else, it's taught me, like, my screw ups have taught me more than my successes. I'll tell you that. I've learned way more from trying something and failing than necessarily just like everything. When everything's going fine, you don't even notice. You take it for granted. But when you try something and you totally screw it up, well, that leaves much more of an impression.
No, 100% agree with that. It's like it comes back to even with making games and stuff. It's like you learn from your failures. You have people react a certain way, and like you take that into you take that into consideration, and it's such a great thing to have. I'm not sure if all trauma is good for you. Like if everything's traumatic and it's good, but some level of trauma, I think, is a good thing. Like that, I think it does make a difference. I think it's a good thing to have, if that makes sense. A little bit of it, not too
Yeah, no,
much.
I agree. I think you can't go through life without trauma. Like, I think that what defines a person is, do they identify with their trauma, or do they grow? Do they heal themselves from it and grow from it? Because if you identify with your trauma, then you get caught in like a cycle, and you're always that person. You're always just stuck like, oh, I'm you're traumatized by this, whatever it happens to be, and you can't go past it. But real growth is like, oh, this thing happened. Damn, it sucked. Well, how did I contribute to this? What can I learn from it? And how do I use it to grow and move forward and not make the same mistakes? That's strength and growth and forward movement.
Okay, that was perfect again. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, so the next question. Now, this question, oh my god. All right, this one I will admit comes towards near the end. It's usually near the end, and it gets me so mad. So, tell me why you are interested in working for us.
Well, outside of the 6 paragraphs that you listed about how fantastic your studio is, I've always been fascinated by entertainment and art and the projects that you've put out, or if you haven't put out projects, I've seen a lot of media about the things you're working on over there. I know you have a number of very talented individuals. I think this would be an excellent opportunity to grow, to sharpen my knife, to learn new skills, and contribute to a project that I think can make a difference in the industry or the market. Some answer like that, I think, is the best to go on it. You just puff them up. If they wrote 6 paragraphs about how awesome they are, well, just blow up that ego. Just be like, oh, well, you guys seem like a great opportunity. Everything here seems fantastic. Whether or not you believe it or not, I mean, it helps if you believe it. If you really do want to work there, I think it's very easy to answer a question like that. But if you're just trying to negotiate and make your way through, just talk about how awesome it is and how great of an opportunity it is.
Exactly, yeah, it's perfect. I have here as like a comment, perfect answer. Please blow smoke up my ass. That's what.
there
That's
you
what it
go.
is. That's
You're like 100%
yeah.
right.
That's how it
That's
is. It's
exactly what
literally
it
an
is.
ego.
Like,
It's literally an ego like boost for them, just to kiss, just to prove that you can kiss their ass. So that way, when they get you, you will continue to kiss their ass. 100%
well,
perfect answer,
it's an
Patrick.
opportunity to show how to give an example of your passion. Just ham it up. Not ham it up. I guess. Like I'm not saying to be disingenuous, but strategically answer it. Like you you know, I think something that really hurts a lot of people is that they're wearing their heart on their sleeve. They think everything is an opportunity to just be like 100% real and like 100% them. And I'm not saying to lie or, obfuscate, but this is a game. Interviewing is a game. It's a back and forth, it's a strategy, it's a business. It's a and this type of question is a great opportunity to show that you're passionate and that you want to be there. So yeah, blow some smoke up their ass.
Yeah,
Tell them it sounds like a fantastic opportunity. There's talented people, and it'll be great for your growth.
good point. Yeah, I see. I'm on the side of like, yeah, lie ahead. Like they're gonna ask stupid questions like this. You can give them stupid answers. Like, lie, 100% lie. And what does help is I remember during my first interview like years ago when I got my first 3D job, I mentioned that I actually know like I've looked at your website and I looked at like who's on the team. So I know who this is. I know I even said I know there's this guy who does this for you, this guy who does that for you. So I've already done my research. And he's like, okay, that was his response.
Yeah,
He's like it blew,
that's
like it
true.
blew him away.
Absolutely, 100%. Like know some of the people that you're going to be working with. You can even ask in the interview, like, oh, I know that, I know that so and so started this company with this other person from this game or this company, and I really admire them. And, you know, I don't know who the art director is, but based off of the screenshots I've been seeing, I'm really impressed by whoever that is. May I ask the name of the art director? Like, oh, who's the lead or who's the hiring manager? Look them up. They have portfolios too. Everybody's got an internet footprint these days. Find out who they are. Show interest. Come with research and knowledge of the company that you've applied to, and then show more interest. You know, ask about who's working there if you don't know all the names. Show that you care. Like, show that you're invested and interested, and that you want to be there.
Yeah. Okay. And another question that always oh my god. All right, let's put the music on for this. Another question that always fucking blows my mind, right? There was this one job that I saw. It was like a 3-month contract, right? And one of the questions was, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?" Why the fuck do they care if it's a 3-month
Okay.
contract? But anyway, yeah. How would you answer that?
You say, well, I hope to be here. I hope to be here in 5 months, in 5 years, 5 months, whatever. And I expect that I will advance through whatever the process is that you have laid ahead. And, maybe I'll have moved up the chain, but I really hope that I can be here working with you guys.
I like that. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I would even say stuff like, let's work together. I'd love to make you some money. Like that type of thing. Like, I would say like that at the end of it too. Like it's so, because that's why they're getting you. They're paying you money to eventually, hopefully, give them a profit at the end of the day. They're using your skills to
Yeah.
sell a thing. But yeah, I think people like to hear that you align with them. I'm not acting like I'm the boss, but I'm thinking like how the boss would think. Like at the end of the day, it's money. It's not about giving me
Yep.
a job just to make me happy, or him giving out a job to make him happy. It's about money. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. Yeah. They wouldn't hire you if they didn't think that they could profit off of your labor. That's the whole point, you know? And a lot of times the 5 year question is to see, are you the type of person who is coming in to use this position as a stepping stone, or do you really want the position? So even if you do see it as a stepping stone and your real goal is lead, director, whatever, whatever, you don't tell them that because that might be something that they're looking to disqualify you for. You say, I hope to be here working with you doing this stuff, making awesome characters, making awesome environments, making awesome effects, whatever it is that you're applying for. You don't say, "Oh, well, yeah, I want to be here, but my real passion is to be the creative director in 5 years." Like, don't say that. That's not good. Like, even if it's true, you say, "Oh, I want to be working here, making awesome things with you guys." And I do expect to move, advance however the advancements at your studio work. Especially if it's 5 years ahead, I expect to be 5 years advanced, whatever that looks like. Hopefully still working here, making awesome stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly. That was really good. Yeah, I like that you're, even though it's a 3 month contract, you're still trying to, like, you're making them think that it's more of an ongoing thing, because they didn't say after your contract ends there's no more work. You're trying to create a long term future with them, which I think they would appreciate. Hopefully, I mean, maybe they do just want
Yeah,
you for 3 months, but that's the risk you have to take.
that's true. But the thing is, if you get 3 months in, if you do get that opportunity and you just show up and you impress, there's always the possibility you could get hired on full time. 3 month contracts might just be the trial run, and they hire people contract for a few months, see how well they do, and they either extend them or offer them full time if they really like working with you. So that 3 months in the door is your opportunity to show that you want to be there. You're a hard worker. You make clean models, clean deliveries. You cross the T's, dot the I's, show up to meetings. You know, don't make are a positive member of the team, and that's your opportunity to show them that. And then, hell, if they really like you, they will make it happen. Unless of course there's just no cash. Like if there's no cash and they can only do 3 months, then that's what it is. But if money comes back around and you left and you made a really good impression, expect to hear them call you back.
Exactly. And then, so those are the questions. But now, listen to this, right? Now, as a part of our award-winning hiring policy, I have this project for you to do. Just a small test. It's really easy though. Like I mean, really, really easy. I just want to make sure everything you're saying is true. I have a concept for you. It's a skyscraper building. I just need you to create it start to end, just the full pipeline, just to see how you work. And I'll give you 2 weeks and provide you a link and email. Any questions?
Yes. How are you paying hourly or by the task? Because rate, my rate is X amount of dollars to work on this.
No, this is just a little unpaid test, just to make sure, like we know
No,
like what you're capable of.
no. I work for X rate.
Good. Don't fucking fall for that shit, guys. Fucking hell. Like that is
Like
such a
I'll be more
fucking
than
thing.
yeah. I'll be more than happy to make this for you. However, my rate is X amount an hour, or if you have a budget aside for this, we can negotiate that.
Yeah,
But don't work for free.
yeah.
Don't do it.
Because they'll use words like, "Oh, it's just small and easy, really simple." But what I asked for you was like a whole start to end of a whole skyscraper. I'll give you 2 weeks, so they're expecting it to take like a week. And so many people fall for this. No matter how hard we can try to tell people not to do this, there are people who fall for this crap.
Yeah, no, I've fallen for it too. I have, and I've also sent invoices in and not getting paid for tests. You know, I've had invoices not just be ignored by companies. It's see, here's the thing: if they really wanted to hire you, they wouldn't be putting you through all these hoops.
Yeah,
If
they
they
would
really
know.
want, if they really wanted to hire you, they wouldn't be doing it. So, any friction is a sign of disinterest. Any. So, if they insist on it, you insist on getting paid. You're a professional. This is not something that you should take lightly. You should always ask for money. And if you are not going to get paid, then you can make the decision at the end, like, do I want to do this for free for the possibility of getting wherever the hell I'm going? But that's on you. I can't tell you to do it or not to do it, because I've done plenty of free tests, but I've also done paid tests, and that's how I prefer it now. My time is valuable. They might not see it that way, but if they don't see my time as valuable, then I don't want to work for them.
Yeah. Now, what I would say is, as well, is spin a question on them. I'd be like, "Have you guys had a chance to check out my portfolio? I've done some stuff in there. You can get a good game. You can. I think you can get a good grasp of my skills through that. And then, depending on
That's a
what they
good one
say, yes
too.
or
I
no,
do like that.
because
Yeah.
you're deferring it to
Like I
them.
feel like, is there something, based on my portfolio, is there a question that I wouldn't be able to hit your style or something? What is the issue? You know?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that would help, especially if you have a particular piece you can reference and then talk about that particular piece. Like I asked for a skyscraper. I don't know how many people have made skyscrapers. Maybe you've made a house or a building. You can show that you've done architectural stuff, and that you can
Hmm.
use that. And you can talk about how you don't have to do the test. You can talk about your workflow, assuming your boss
Yeah, I think.
understands it. You don't want to talk about your workflow if they're like some corporate guy who's it's just going to be all jargon to him. But yeah, context matters, I guess. But yeah, I feel like you could try to go down the portfolio route too. I would have accepted that too, I reckon. Both were good
Yeah, I.
responses.
It's tough, man. A lot of these companies, they'll just send out art tests before they even talk to you sometimes, and they don't care. They don't care. They don't give a shit at all about your time or what it takes to get some of these things done. And then even at the end of it, they might not even hire you. You can do a bang out test, but if it was like 5 or 6 people all doing a test, and they were only going to hire one, and they knew already that they were only going to hire one, but all these people are spending their time trying to make this thing, like, it's just a terrible situation. If they're not willing to pay you for your time, then I don't think that they're really interested in hiring you. And if you have a portfolio, like you said, that shows examples that look just like their project or are very close to what it is that they're asking for, you say, is this not sufficient? Is there still a question to my abilities? Because really, like I was saying, any resistance is disinterest. You
Mm.
know, like they're like, oh yeah, this person is okay, but let's make them jump through hoops. I'm not convinced, because my best jobs that I've gotten, no art test. They just wanted to talk to me. They liked my stuff. They wanted to hire me, and those were my best jobs. The ones where I had to jump through too many hoops, they were always the ones that didn't really pan out, or were bad fits, or wound up having some kind of friction, down the line. So go where you're wanted. You know, go where you're wanted. Go where people recognize and see the value you bring. Don't be comparing, and don't be comparing yourself to a million other people. Like, just accept, you are who you are. You're an individual. Find people who like what you're doing, and then go work with them. Don't be trying to prove yourself to people on the other end of the internet that you may never meet, or maybe you do prove yourself, then you go work there and realize it's an unhealthy environment. Life's too short for that shit.
Yeah, I just really want to drill it into people's heads because I always advocate never to do unpaid tests. And then even in my own community, I've seen like people talk about it and they put a screenshot of what they did, and it's an unpaid test, and they openly admit it, and they're like, "Yeah, I know, I did this. I just did this now," and I'm like,
Yeah, and did you get the job?
"Yeah, no," and they don't get the
Yeah,
job. No.
they don't get the job. No, and you just spent 2 weeks that you could be, you just spent like 2 weeks of your time for free making something that's you probably can't even put in your portfolio. You probably signed an NDA or something, so you can't
Yep.
even put it out there.
And they
And
own
now
it.
you just
They own it too.
they own it. Yeah, you just did free work for them that you can't show, and you can't use, to market yourself or whatever. And a lot of times they never intended to hire you in the first place. but they just don't respect you. They don't respect your time, and they don't respect the effort that it takes and the cost, or else they would pay you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If they respected your work and your time, they would just hire you.
Yeah, that's the type of person that needs to be burnt physically. No, sorry, not burnt, you know what I mean, burnt themselves to learn. Like how you were saying, like sometimes you said you were like that, you're a doer and stuff. But yeah, I just wish I wish that wasn't a thing. It does suck, but oh well, I guess, what they've done it once. Hopefully they never do it again. That's one less person that will do it in the future. But there's always new people coming into the industry. There's so many people graduating every year and every semester, every half year. There's going to be at least 1,000 new game development people in the world that get added for sure. Like my uni itself, that was based in Melbourne, I think was doing classes of like 120, and there's far more. And Australia's nothing compared to the rest of the world. So. 1,000, what am I talking about? Probably 10,000 every semester. And there's not 10,000 new jobs every semester. That's for sure. Yep. Probably less than 1,000. Sure. Probably way less than 1,000. I don't know.
At this point, yeah. At this point right now, you got a lot less.
And Patrick, let me sell you on our amazing perks. We've got some amazing perks at our company, right? So first perk, we have free breakfast on Saturday. So if you want to come to the office, if you want to come on the weekend and chill with us, free breakfast.
I'll take that into consideration. Thank you.
But this one's so common. This is one of my favorite ones to hear. It's so bad. And we're a community of people who understand your game passion. That's a great perk. We understand games and your passion. And then the third one, another one, we have a dynamic and engaging environment focused on fostering real growth and innovation. Yeah, right. Sure, mate.
Yeah, well, those are lovely words, but what do can you give me some practical examples?
Exactly. And they'll be like,
what does that mean? Like, don't be fooled by flowery language. That's all corporate speak.
Yeah.
And if someone, I mean, that first one is a big red flag, like Saturday breakfast.
To be fair, I don't think I've ever
That's
seen
the worst.
that. I don't think I've ever seen that. I made that up because it's funny, but
it is good. It is very good.
and my all-time favorite. This is like, I hate this one. This was like the most hated one, right? And we're just such a big family here. We all understand each other.
That's the worst one.
It's the worst one.
That is the worst one. Okay. Anybody listening to this?
They use that sentence before, that's the thing they say before they give you a red flag. It's always the sentence that comes before a red flag. The next sentence they say is like, they would say this and then talk to you about the unpaid test. Or they would say that and then talk to you about like, you have to work extra hours overtime unpaid or something. It's always the family thing.
Yeah, I mean that in itself is the first red flag, I would say. People, this culture, this goofy corporate culture that, we're a family and we're, looking out for each other and all this stuff. That is the biggest lie. Okay. The company is not your family. In fact, most of the people at the company are not your friends. Like it's so important for people to understand that your coworkers are not your friends. Maybe you will find a friend or two amongst your coworkers, and if you do, that's fantastic because at least you have a couple of, you're starting off with similar interests. But your coworkers, no matter how good of a relationship you have with them, are not your friends and they're not your family. They are often trying to compete with you for your job, promotions, upward mobility, and a million other things. Okay. They may even be snakes where they smile at you and then try to stab you in the back at some point. Go to work, do the best job you can, and go home. Make friends outside of work, and accept that maybe occasionally you'll make a really good friend at your job. Like I've been very fortunate. I've made a number of very good friends throughout the years at different studios. but I would say that that is the exception, not the rule. And certainly don't think your managers and your leaders are your friends.
Oh
If
yeah.
your managers and your leaders are trying to be your friends, that's a red flag. There needs to be there's a reason why your boss is in the boss is in the office and the workers are outside the office. It's not some kind of like, oh, he thinks he's better than me kind of thing. Is no, it there needs to be a separation, but and a difference between who is deciding and running and then the people working, because he needs to make decisions, oftentimes hard decisions, and those decisions get harder when you're super friendly. When it's hard to fire your friend. You don't want to fire your friend. You don't want to be like, if someone's slacking off and you're bros with them, you're going to have to get over that and then tell them, hey, you're slacking off. You really need to get things together. And then boom, that friendship is dead. That friendship is gone. It's over at that point. Or it may not even happen because it's too cordial, too friendly, too much of a relationship there. You've just created a really toxic environment. Like, people love to throw that word around, toxic. Well, you know what a really toxic environment is? When people are friends with their boss and then they slack off and nothing gets done and the boss don't do anything about it. Now you have a serious problem. Okay? Do not be friends with your coworkers. Maybe one or two, but certainly not your boss.
Yeah, especially
Certainly not
someone
your
above
superiors.
you. Yep.
Now you can network with them, you can be cordial with them. Hell, if they smoke outside, you can go have a cigarette with them and try to rub elbows and get yourself into a position where you can move up or something, play the game. But always keep in mind, like, you're in a corporate structure, you're in a business. This is a game. This whole thing is a game. You show up to do your job and do your best you can and advocate for yourself and protect yourself, protect your ass, and watch what you say. Try not to do anything that can get you HR'd or into any kind of trouble, and just play the game as best you can. And that's really it.
Body perfect. Well, Patrick, you passed the test, right?
Oh my god, no, I would like an omelet on Saturday morning, please.
But I've decided not to move forward with you, as I'm going with a foreigner person from a third world country for $1 an hour. So, hey, don't boo me. Why can't I get unpaid? Like, why can't I get cheap labor overseas? Yeah, Funny how I said
the American
unpaid.
way.
Funny how I said the word unpaid by accident, because to me it would feel like I'm not paying them because they're so cheap. And we just went through all that interview just for them to do that as well. That's another thing that fucking happens. And I'm like, why fucking waste your time with an American or, someone who's charging, someone not from a third world country who's charging a lot more, if your intention was to always get someone from a third world country which charges peanuts, And not when the peanuts are expensive, when the peanuts are worth not much, Sometimes peanuts can be worth a lot of money.
The peanuts are even cheaper where they're from,
Yeah. Yeah. But
oh man, that's a brutal truth. That's a brutal reality that outsourcing, offshoring, and importing labor is definitely creating a lot of issues in basically any industry that they can do it in.
fuck the internet.
It's an unfortunate part of life.
Fuck the internet, damn it. Why did the internet have to exist? Why couldn't games be local?
I don't like and I don't want to be like, there's two sides of it, right? There's like all these people that get this amazing opportunity, and I don't blame any of them for taking it. If I were them, I would do it too. Well, who I blame are the people in charge of all of these types of decisions who aren't protecting the workers in their own home countries. Because really, it doesn't help. Say like, for example, Australia. Like, if America just imported a bunch of Australian game developers, there would be no game development in Australia. It sounds like there really isn't much anyway, but there would be even less. Like, I understand that it's a great opportunity to come over here and work for one of these companies, and I don't blame anybody for doing it. But if we didn't do it, all those developers where you're at or wherever they are, they'd get together and they'd make video games, and then we would have variety. We'd have diversity. One of those words that people love to throw around, diversity. Well, we would have some diversity in the video game industry because games from Australia would be Australian. They would have a culture and a flair and a taste and a vibe that we wouldn't have here because you guys are a different culture than us. Same with, India or Europe or Asia. Like, there's diversity in it, and that's what makes things interesting. Like that Black Myth Wukong game, which is like a Chinese folklore game. That game is dope as hell. And that game wouldn't exist if we just imported a bunch of Chinese game developers here and we just made American games. Like, that might not exist. And I think the world would be worse for it. I think I'm pro diversity, but real diversity, not just surface level, surface level nonsense. Like, I want real difference, real variety, because that's how you get new creative things. Like, that's the only way to do it. Everything gets homogenized if you just keep making games like we do here in the States or whatever. Like, if they were just doing that everywhere, you just get the same product. I think that's part of what's going on now. Like, everything's so homogenized, everything's so samey. Everybody's like ripping off each other and making the same game over and over again. It's with just some superficial changes. Games are kind of forgettable now, and I think we got to go back to when games were like wildly different. I think back to my childhood of playing American RPGs like like the Morrowind and Planescape Torment and all of these Baldur's Gate, and then I played JRPGs, and it was just vastly different, completely different game from the look, the feel, the combat style, the storytelling, the menus. Like, everything was so different. Like, that's how you get new interesting things. You gotta you gotta promote people to do unique things where they're at.
Words of wisdom, Lloyd. Words of wisdom.
Got something to expose? Call the Spillato Bros.